Every choice starts with a conversation with ourselves. And today I'm going to talk about how we can heighten our awareness of the stories that drive our choices so we can engage with the dominant voice in our heads differently to support the better choices that we want to make. This is something that comes up in the office hours for our 60-day reset every week. So if you are a member of Skinny 60, this will be a great refresher. If not, I hope it's helpful. So let's dive in. If you are new to the podcast and you want to learn more about how It Has to Be Me came about and understand more about my food and nutrition philosophy and my approach to coaching people, please listen to episodes 1 through 4, where I share a lot of stories that have helped me form the way that I interact with people. I'm using food as a portal of discoverability to understand how we make all of the choices that we make, because how we choose to nourish ourselves is a direct reflection of how we feel about ourselves and how we treat ourselves in the rest of our lives. I've never seen an example where this isn't true. And to make healthy choices and stick with them, it takes more than information. And what I want to talk about today is this conversation with ourselves and with others and how we can upgrade that so that we are nourishing ourselves with thoughts that support the choices that we want to make. So one of the things that comes up over and over is this tape that we all play about what's possible in our lives. And often it's a tape that's been installed by somebody else. It's not actually ours. So heightening our awareness about what are those stories that keep playing out in our heads over and over, because we spend a lot of time with ourselves, in conversation with ourselves, as we're walking around, as we're cooking, as we're driving, as we're trying to fall asleep, as we're getting up, as we're in the shower. We're in conversation with ourselves all the time. And the mind can take us to some pretty dark places, and she can be a pretty ruthless mistress, is what I'll say. The mind is wired to keep us safe. So it's going to keep going back to what it knows, even if it's what doesn't serve us. So just paying attention. What are the stories and the narratives that you're playing with? And who were they installed by? You know, there's that old adage, our family knows how to press our buttons because they installed them. Who is the dominant voice in your head? It's typically a parent. And how are you engaging with that as an adult, that narrative? Because you're not a child anymore. You have complete autonomy over what you do and the choices that you make. But we're still often getting stuck in this pattern of playing out a story from the past. And so just thinking about and becoming more aware, what are the beliefs about what's possible? Every family has their set of rules. You know, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what's good, what's bad, what's available, what's possible, what's not allowed to be on the table. So as adults, we get to decide what's on our table, what's on our plate, and what we want to say yes to and what we want to say no to. Are the yeses and nos that you're playing with, are they yours or are they somebody else's? So this comes up a lot during my office hours. When I ask somebody what their dream is, or, you know, what they hope to achieve, when we start to drill more deeply, we discover that it's actually somebody else's idea of what should happen or what's right for me, but not actually what I want to be doing. So often it just starts with permission, giving yourself permission to want what you want, even if it flies in the face of what everybody else in your life thinks that you should be doing. The heart wants what it wants. There's a reason why it beats last. You know, when you pull the plug and everything else dies, your heart is the last thing going. I mean, it just runs the show, and it should. It always knows what you really want. And then our mind gets involved and starts putting up roadblocks. So often I'm just listening in office hours to the words that we use to describe our story and our situation, and they really, really matter. So I encourage you to do a little bit of journaling or just listen to the words that you use over and over to describe things, because we've all got, you know, words that we use, turns of phrase that we use commonly. They become sort of part of our signature lexicon. And, you know, when people do impersonations of us, they'll pull out those phrases. They matter. and they're very revealing about what our dominant story is and what's going on in our state of mind. So often, just as an exercise with certain people that are getting stuck in achieving their goals or getting past obstacles that are preventing them from making changes that they want to make, I'll often encourage them to remove certain words from their lexicon. So an example would be try. I really don't like the word try because it implies and it gives us an out that we're not quite going to get there. We've already decided that we're not actually going to do it. And I think that we always know whether we really want to do something or not. Again, it just goes back to that permission. We're a little bit scared, or maybe we're afraid of the outcome. It's not going to work out. It's going to be humiliating. I'm not going to be able to meet the moment. So it's just that thing that I talk about a lot on the pod about the difference between fear and excitement. They activate in the same place in the body. It's just a different expectation of the outcome. With fear, we assume that whatever's going to happen is going to destroy us, kill us, be embarrassing, horrible. With excitement, we believe that it's going to be great. So if we go back to my Nelson Mandela quote that I love, I never lose. I either win or I learn. If we accept the premise that there is no losing, that everything that happens serves us, then we can't make mistakes. They're just a bunch of choices. And if we intend to learn from them and be better from them, then how can they be mistakes? We are the sum of our choices. We are the sum of our experience. We are the sum of our memories. And every single experience gives us the tools for the next experience if we're listening. So it's all of value. It's all of interest. We don't exile any part of our history or experience because it serves us and can if we're holding it all in balance. But temporarily, I will just invite people to remove certain words so that they can actively pursue swimming around with other language that might be on the table to describe their experience. I also don't like the word can't. I love the I can, I will mentality, or I don't want to. That phrase, much more definitive and bold. Maybe it's also a word that I'm not terribly fond of. And, sometimes, we're not quite sure and we want a bit more time to think about it. So I just prefer I haven't decided yet. Let me think more about that and I'll make an informed choice soon. It's just it puts us much more in the driver's seat of things rather than having things that are bestowed upon us or they're thrust upon us. We are in the driver's seat of what's going on. Often what I see during office hours is, oh gosh, we're all just so hard on ourselves. The way that we talk to ourselves often, we'd never talk to a child or a grandchild, a lover, a best friend, someone we value in the community. We would never speak to them the way that we speak to ourselves, or we'd have no friends. People would think we were monsters. There's that old saying of, your mind is a bitch, and your inner voice is an asshole. I mean, I see where that comes from because we can be so hard on ourselves. That can often be modeled by a parent as well. And it just sort of, trickles down into the way that we all speak to each other. That can often be the case. But I often will encourage people again to, just as a homework assignment, just speak to yourself the way that you would speak to your child, the way you would speak to the person you love the most in the world, that you would die for, that you would do anything to protect, that you would never want to hurt. How would you speak to them? And start speaking to yourself that way. That's, the importance of that solo practice. Be interested in you, celebrate you, swim around with you. I mean, you should be your favorite person. And I know that's really confronting and hard sometimes when we feel shame or guilt, or that I'm not enough story just keeps rearing its head. I've spoke about this quite a bit in episodes 1 through 4 about how typically in my life, the I'm not enough story manifests as I'm too much. I'm too loud. I'm too brash. I'm too opinionated. I'm too ambitious. I'm too thirsty. I want too much. I expect too much. I used to think they were opposites, but, many years later, I realized that it's two sides of the same coin. That I'm not enough. I have to be different somehow in order to be loved, in order to be ready, in order to be worthy of that next step. Well, you're ready when you decide you're ready. So just jump off the cliff without a parachute and just Trust that the net will appear and that you have full support. That's why we don't do this thing called life alone. We are doing it in communion with others. But life is a solo practice that we choose to share with the people we choose to share it with. We invite people into our intimate experiences, and we get to choose who we bring in. So approaching life like a mastery, like Justin was saying in the last episode, that mastery is not a destination. It's a commitment to a path that never ends. So that commitment that I'm going to be in the process of mastering my understanding and my evolving and ever growing understanding of myself. It's really beautiful. And I don't use the word interested or interesting because I can't think of a better word. I mean of interest, and not with judgment, not with shame, just a gentle curiosity, just being so thirsty and curious about yourself, that glorious adventure of why. I just constantly keep asking myself why with everything that I do and think. Oh, why? Oh, why did I think that? Not judgment, oh God, why? Just that gentle, oh, why did I do that? Oh, I've got to think about that, and often it takes days to sort of swim around in it. And sometimes it's a very uncomfortable journey, but it always takes me to a better place of understanding. So just listening, that practice of listening to our body, what the body needs, What do I need to feel better right now? Sometimes it's a walk. Sometimes it's lying down. Sometimes it's calling somebody. Sometimes it's going for a run. Sometimes it's going and dancing it out. Sometimes it's putting a piece of music on, a movie, whatever it might be. What do I need to move into a better place right now? A lot of guests on the pod have talked about heart-focused listening to our heart. What does our heart want? And sometimes, it is in opposition to where the mind wants to take us. And sometimes what our heart wants is inconvenient for the other people in our lives. But your heart's going to keep wanting what it wants. So just listening to what it is that you really, really want. It's really our mind that holds us back, not our heart. Oh gosh, our heart, there's infinite possibilities. There's just more air in the story, more joy, more possibility, more love. There's nothing wrong with wanting more. I think it's a beautiful thing. And we often feel like we've got to put a lid on our desires. We talked about this last week with Justin in London about making desire our ally, our friend, our comrade, to open us up to more love, more communion, more joy. So what do you need to do to hold your life in balance? Eating well and exercising, managing sleep, noticing when you're experiencing elevated stress, beautiful relationships, family, friends, community, participating with others, therapies. I've spoken a lot about the different therapies that I engage with in order to hold life in balance and be, my best self today as much as I can be. I've interviewed many of the therapists that I see, Dr. Ava Reuven, Pete Coles. I'm going to have Lee Veal on the podcast, Alana Kazakovich. I mean, so many beautiful people that have really helped me and continue to help me. So what are the guardrails? What container do you need to actively place yourself in order to be able to move freely with who you are and what you want? We're often putting ourselves in very, very rigid containers that are not, again, of our making. It's somebody else's container. And maybe it's a container from childhood. Maybe it's a container from a previous relationship. But you're allowed to put yourself in different containers throughout the day, throughout the week, at different chapters of your life. We choose to put ourselves in places, hopefully, that help us expand into the better parts of ourselves, that enable us to swim around with more potential than we thought we had, not limit us. So just paying attention, where are you placing yourself? How can you turn up your light? Sometimes we want to contract. but I think our light is still there. So are you actively dimming your light and making yourself smaller? How can you show yourself? Do we need to be discerning about who we share ourselves with, and certainly the intimate parts of ourselves? Absolutely. But are you craving and actively seeking out disconnection with yourself and others, or actively seeking out connection? And where do the lines get blurred within you? This is a conversation that, again, comes up over and over in our office hours. But discernment is important. We do need to be discerning about who we let in. What are our yeses and what are our nos? And often this comes up quite a bit in conversation, particularly because people get such extraordinary results on our 60-day reset. They lose weight, they're sleeping better, they've got more energy, they feel more confident, their skin is glowing, their hair is beautiful and lustrous, they're fitting into clothes they never thought they'd fit into again, but they've got a confidence and they feel in control of their life. And because they're starting to say yes to more potential, the energy and the vibration that they're operating at changes. So what happens when there's people around you that are not operating at a higher vibration and they're struggling through life? Because, I mean, only unhappy people treat other people badly. So if somebody's confronted by your light and it's blinding them, it's too much for them, that's about their story, not about yours. So often what I see happening with women in our community is, they are turning up their light and things are just taking off for them in every part of their lives. Because when you clean up your health and nutrition, everything else in your life gets better. You feel empowered, you feel stronger, you feel more confident. So that can have an effect on the people in your life, but that's on them. That's for them to navigate. And so often we see a lot of pushback. So learning to upgrade the way that you speak to yourself and learning to upgrade the way that you speak to others can really help with resolving some of the weird energy that can occur when you're moving far beyond where some other people in your life are choosing to move. So that's something that can happen quite a lot. So increasing the awareness is one of the first things. I talk about this a lot in office hours, that just being aware. Just noticing gently, why is that triggering for me? Why is that pressing my buttons? What's going on there? Oh, okay. And just holding it, and it can be an ongoing conversation and should be, really. We want to be always, increasing our awareness of why we're doing what we're doing, even if it is uncomfortable, because we want to be responding rather than reacting. So it's with awareness, it's with equanimity, all the things we were talking about with Justin in London last week. We also talked about this with Crystal Jenkins, who works at the Hoffman process. So if you want to go and listen to that episode, it was a really extraordinary conversation around this, about responding as our adult selves as opposed to reacting as children and getting triggered from things from the past. So even if we are giving ourselves permission, because I think often so many things, it starts with permission, just giving ourselves permission to want what we want, regardless of what it means for anything else. Doesn't mean we're not aware, we're not mindful, we're not compassionate, we don't want to hurt people with our choices, but we still want what we want. But we can have all these thoughts and dreams, and we have them. And then if the people in our life aren't jumping on board with what we want, it can breed a lot of resentment. I've been very honest, particularly in episodes 1 through 4 and several other episodes, that is something that I rub up against a lot in my life, which is why I keep going to therapy, which is why I'm in conversation with different healing modalities so that I can be doing better with that. Well, they should just know. They should just know that I don't like that and that's what I want. And we should have a conversation. And, there is this childlike expectation that other people are going to meet you and communicate exactly how you communicate. That's just simply not possible because we're all unique beings. So this is something that I give this. I like to do this in my own life, but this is something that I give as homework or as an offer, just as a gentle offer or a suggestion or an invitation to a lot of members of our community, is to go into longhand with communication. So often we are walking around life in our relationships and we're working in shorthand. So, particularly in familial relationships and long term intimate relationships and friendships, and even work colleague relationships, when you've been around people for a number of years, we often make assumptions. Oh, well, past behavior is the best indication of future behavior. I know that's what that person's going to say. Oh, they always say that. That's what they mean. And we can really get into shorthand when we make assumptions and then we don't even communicate. We don't even mention it, or it's a one sentence thing, or we huff off, or it leads to conflict. And it can breed a lot of resentment and a lot of miscommunication and a lot of unnecessary torture and heartbreak, really. Good conflict resolution skills and personal responsibility are just non-negotiables for me. And I sometimes struggle with good conflict resolution. So it's something that I'm constantly working on, particularly with certain people. It can be really challenging, and I'm constantly wanting to be better with it. So just making sure that we're always looking at that piece of it's really, really important. And listening and paying attention to what I call the white space. That's what it's an acting term. The white space is the stuff that's not being said, the stuff that's never said, the stuff that's right hanging in the air. The white space is the stuff that's not in the script. It's not the text. Movie or a film, they're the same thing. What am I saying? Movie, play, whatever it might be. So I really, really love longhand, going into clarifying. Oh, okay, I heard what you said. What I'm hearing is this. Is that what you mean? Like being as prescriptive as that. Because often you'll say something and someone will hear something completely different. They'll make assumptions, or that it'll be informed by conversations you've had from the past. And then we get into a really slippery slope of he said, she said, I said, you said, no, and often in the heat of the moment, we're not able to be completely present and honest about what's going on. So another part of longhand is just okay, so here's an example. If I'm in a heated conversation with somebody and it's really not going to a very good place and we need to sort of shift it, and I'm getting really, really charged and very, very emotional, I might say something like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm finding it really difficult to hold right now. I'm getting really emotional. It's really confronting, but I know it's really important that we talk about this. And I really do want to talk about this with you. And I don't want to withhold. But do you mind if I just take 30 minutes, just go away and think about it and sort of form my words and find my way into it, so that I don't say things that I might regret, or I don't come in too sharp, and I can sort of soften the edges and within myself and what I want to say? Would that be all right? Or maybe we could talk later today or tomorrow. But look, that I say that, and as it's coming out of my mouth, I would find that difficult to receive. If somebody said that to me, I would receive it and honor it, but I like to resolve things right now. But often that may not be what serves both people. A lot of people like to go away and really think about it. They need time to come back and meet in a place of real honesty, and that's absolutely their right. So going into longhand about it and not assuming that somebody knows, well, of course we're going to talk about it. I love you. But actually just really putting it on the table. I know this is really important. It's really important to me. And I do really want to talk about this. I just need a little bit of time. It might just be 5 minutes. It could be, a whole day. It could be a week. It could be longer. Just being really clean and clear about what our intentions are. Allowing ourselves to have the time, unless it's something that has to be decided right now. Taking a break and coming back, putting some more air into the story, changing the scenery, sleeping on it. We kind of know that these things work. Another thing that I do quite a lot now that has really shifted things for me is, because I work as a coach, and the people in our program and in our community are coming to me for answers and guidance. And because I have a certain intuitive gift and a way of holding things, a lot of friends and family will come to me for the same thing. So over the past 5 years, I'd gotten into a habit where I made an assumption that every single time someone came to me and shared something, that they wanted my help fixing it or to be guided. But that's not always the case. Sometimes people just want you to listen. They just want you to listen. And so I'll give you an example of what happened recently. I have a dear, dear friend who's going through this hideous divorce. And I say hideous because it is so painful. And her partner is very, very difficult and cruel, unnecessarily cruel. And it's really, really heartbreaking to be around and to not for me to be around, but well, no, it is in the sense of it hurts because she's such a beautiful person and it's so unnecessary. And so, yeah, it hurts, but I'm more upset for her and her family, but it's also by extension just upsetting because I love her and I want the best for her. So recently she called me and asked me to come over, and it was really, really early in the morning and I had my pajamas on. And of course, I dropped everything and went over there. And as I was driving over there, I just reminded myself, you don't actually know what you're going to get when you get over there. And you don't completely know why she wants you to come over. So don't make an assumption that you're going to go in and go, okay, blah, blah, blah. So I was really grateful that I had that conversation with myself. So I got there, she opened the door, fell into my arms. We had a cry. And then I just said, what do you need from me right now? And that is a question that I ask everybody now. What do you need from me? And thank God I asked that question, because if I had not have asked that question, she may have so first of all, let me just say what her response was. She said, you know what? I really want to talk to you, but I'm just not ready yet. I just want to lie in bed and cry and get it out of my body right now. I just need to know you're in the house and that I'm safe. So do you mind going down to the other end of the house and putting the kettle on and making some food, for breakfast, and I'll be down in a little bit. So I done. And so I just went down to the other end of the house. I was down there for, gosh, a few hours. And she came down when she was ready. We had a lovely conversation on her terms, which it needed to absolutely be that way. And had I not gone into longhand and just made an assumption, she probably would have spoken to me before she was ready and before it was on her terms and what was appropriate for her and most productive for her in that moment of distress, because she would have felt bad. Oh God, Tess came over here in her pajamas at 6:30 in the morning. Oh my God, there's more drama. I'm so embarrassed. And instead, there was just that freedom to put a lot more things back on the table. And it's something that's really, really working for me. So please take it up and use it and see what happens in your life. And yeah, just asking people what they need from you. And we can do longhand with ourselves. And I'll talk about some of these strategies that I give to people in just a minute. The power of the pause is one of them, just giving ourselves the gift of more grace when we talk to ourselves and how we hold ourselves, just more gently with a lot more love. I mean, I just think there's no ceiling to how much love we can put in our story, how much love we can hold for ourselves, how much love we can have and hold for others. But the love that we hold for ourselves just has to be infinite. It just has to be ever present. This self-love piece is such a huge, huge piece of it. And it's something that, many of us struggle with, myself included. It comes up a lot during office hours. How can we upgrade the way that we hold love for ourselves, the way that we communicate love to ourselves, the way that we judge or don't judge it, for want of a better expression. Another thing that I'm constellating around as a in my own life, but also as a coach, is how we can be in it, not on it. How we can be in our experience, not on it. and be present with all possibilities, no matter how much air is in the story. When we impose or are chasing one outcome and one outcome only, which is absolutely my default position, and I've talked about this in episodes 1 through 4, instead of just allowing things to be what they are and being inside of it and seeing what's here to play with, when we're on it, we can force things. We can be tied to one outcome only, and everything's a disappointment if we don't get there, and we don't get there exactly the way that we dreamed that it was going to be. And if everybody else doesn't jump on board and get on board with the agenda and give us what we need in order to get there, then it's just a wash. It's a disappointment. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't mean we don't have goals and dreams. We're not going towards them. We know what we want, and with laser sharp focus, we're going to get there. But there's so many ways to get from A to B, and detours. Oh, I think they're glorious, and they can lead us to some very unexpected and juicy places that can make getting to the destination all the more fulfilling, and we learn so much along the way. So being open to all the possibilities for how we might get to some place, and giving ourselves the grace to entertain all of those options. Even if it turns out to be I don't use this word very often, but a disaster, a failure. I mean, I don't believe in failures. I just believe in choices, again, like mistakes. I don't believe in it. So it's just a choice that we made. What are we going to learn from it? Okay, how can we do better next time if you feel like you didn't do what you wanted to do, or whatever it might be. Playing with the promise of what something might be. I think that's why we love watching rom-coms, romantic movies, sweeping dramas about things. We get to live in a fantasy world of other possibilities without the risk. There's something really beautiful about that. I live inside of story like I am viscerally a part of it. And I love that about the way that I experience story. It's so visceral and alive and present for me. And what can I take from what I felt and what I learned in that story into my own life? Art is always there to challenge us, to open our minds to something else, to open our hearts. So just continuing to stay open, even when fear threatens to close everything off and shut everything down. Just choosing, because it's a choice. Again, how are you seeking out disconnection, and how are you seeking out connection? And why? Just noticing with gentle curiosity. Let's put some more things back on the table. That golden rule of improvisation, yes, and. You don't block any offer. Yes, and. Okay, yes, and. What can come of this? What's here to play with? And often a practical bit of homework, or even in the moment in an office hours session, I will change state. We'll change state. I'll invite someone to change state. I love how animals, they shake it off. They scratch up against something. They deliberately change their state when something's uncomfortable or something isn't the way that they want it. I think we need to be doing that more as humans, so shaking it off, literally shaking your hands, your feet, everything. Getting upside down, doing a cartwheel, putting on your favorite piece of music and dancing around the house, going for a walk, getting out in the sunshine, listening to a piece of music, putting on a movie, calling a friend, whatever it might be. Just change your state, changing outfits sometimes. I'll go, I cannot be in sweats right now. I've got to make an effort, put on a bit of lipstick, get out of the house, go and get a chai latte, one of my favorite things to drink, sitting in a cafe in the sunshine and just putting myself in a different place. Can often just be the ticket. Can sound really superfluous, but changing your state can really make a big difference. I love to dance. It just makes me happy. I'm not a great dancer. I'm not a professional dancer, but I dance with reckless abandon. Like going to a static dance and 5 rhythms is a non-negotiable part of my self-care. And I always get the most extraordinary clarity when I do it. It's so beautiful, and you just let the music carry you. I don't know what music they're going to play next. DJ, play me a song, right? And I don't dance with anybody else. Often I've got my eyes shut, whatever. I just dance like there's no tomorrow. And the clarity that comes from changing my physical state and opening the vessel in a different way, it just never ceases to astound me. It's just utterly extraordinary. We've got quite a few women in our community that love to dance as well. I'd love to know if you do. And hey, dancing might not be your thing. Something else might be your thing. Going for a run might be. Whatever it is, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, Qigong, whatever, going for a bike ride, whatever it is. But just that metaphor of dancing. How do we dance with ourselves and by extension, dance with others? And just keep dancing, that sense of play, keep playing like children. That's what I love about acting and what I love about the rehearsal room is we just play. We play and nobody gets hurt because yes, we're playing with imaginary circumstances and you can play with no risk. It's so glorious. So really, if we think about it, that's what we're doing inside of our own minds. We can entertain doing the most spectacular things that we don't think we're physically capable of, or murdering somebody. We wouldn't actually do it, but we can entertain it in our own mind, whatever we want. Like there are no limits to where our imagination can take us. And then when the heart latches on to that, it's like, ooh, click, click, click. You breathe into it and maybe that's something that we might want to explore. When I feel the click, 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 it's like, ooh, it's exciting. I get juicy and woof, it's off to the races. It's really cool. But the fear of making mistakes often gets in our way. And like I said, they're just a bunch of choices, and I don't know about you, but I learn the greatest lessons from my so-called failures, the so-called gifts wrapped in dog shit is what I call them in our community. Well, that's a gift wrapped in dog shit. What's so great about the painful, smelly, messy lessons, the humiliating ones, the ones that bring us to our knees, the ones that make us want to cower under the covers embarrassed. Oh my God. I mean, I play things out, the things that have happened in my life that I go, oh God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why did I have a crush on that guy? Oh my God. Sometimes I just cringe thinking about it. And then when I, peek out under the covers, I think, oh, that was a good lesson. Because the cool thing about those lessons is you don't forget them. You do not forget them. And it doesn't mean that we don't make similar mistakes again, because often we have to do it again and again to really take it on and change things. Oh gosh, I've made many mistakes multiple times. And the universe just keeps serving up the lesson until we listen and learn, just keeps serving it up, serving it up. And you know what? It can actually be really delicious when we hold it that way. Oh, okay, well, what am I going to learn about this? Oh, that hurts. That's uncomfortable. Ouch. Okay, well, maybe I'll just stay away from them for a while, but eventually I'll peek in again. I mean, we all handle it differently, but I really celebrate the gifts wrapped in dog shit. And look, making changes is scary. It is, particularly when it comes to our health. It's really, really hard, particularly when we've got ingrained habits, and obviously a lot of what I do is helping people change their food habits, helping them get healthy and make it a sustainable lifestyle. And why do I just harp on about this mindset piece and this relationship piece, the dialogue, the conversations we're having, the relationships we have with others? Who's the dominant voice? All these things I'm talking about. Because when we crack this nut and really understand that better, the actual habit forming and the making the physical changes and the behavioral changes, that's the cake, really. It's the root of it that is where all the progress is to be had. And that is what's going to sustain us. That's what's going to help us continue to want the very best for ourselves. Because we're either using food to comfort, placate, or hide, or we're using it as a source of light, love, power, nourishment, possibility. I think we're a mixture of all of them. We're never just making healthy choices. I think that's another form of disordered eating. That's not imbalance. I eat popcorn and drink a glass of wine and eat ice cream and chips just like the next person. I just don't do it every day. There's a place and time for it. I do it with reckless abandon. I feel joy, no shame, no judgment. I just pick and choose my moment. It's always to make a great memory with family and friends. I think that's the best reason to eat the donut or the slice of pizza or the glass of fabulous wine or whatever it is. Of course, we're going to find a place for these things, but we also need to find a place for the really healthy foods as well, the hydration, meeting our protein needs, looking after our gut health, eating fermented foods, eating vegetables, all the things that we've talked about many times on the pod. All of those things are really important, but it is about balance, finding that balance of self-care and fun, finding that balance of self-care and care for others. And so constantly figuring out how we're going to hold the balance, because it's different in every situation. How do we dance with the different balance that we're finding ourselves in? And so making better choices, as I've said many times on the pod, it's a process of deciding and redeciding. It's the redeciding piece that we get tripped up in. You know, that's the piece that trips all of us up. Well, I'm going to join that program. Oh, well, now I don't really want to do it, or I don't really want to do that tomorrow. Well, it's that redeciding. So how do we keep redeciding? In some way, not the same way every day, but it's by understanding our choices better. It's with that internal dialogue. It's by putting more love into the story, putting more awareness into the story, speaking to ourselves gently, reaching out for help when we need it. All of these things help us make those better choices. Because as I said before, it's not about it's not about the information. Yes, we give incredible science-based information in our program. I mean, our website is so deep. I mean, it's like Nutrition University. There are so many incredible resources, and we upgrade it every December to make sure it's in line with global health recommendations and the latest scientific research. But I can't force anybody to pick up that information and use it and apply it to their life so they can have the transformation that they seek. They have to decide to do it for themselves. You have to decide to do it for yourselves. You have to decide it has to be me, right? Now, can you come in for help? And oh my goodness, do I love to get inside people's stories and, you know, massage things and find the little keys to the puzzle, because they're not problems, they're puzzles. Got that from Pete Coles. That's something that I got from him. It's a beautiful way to think about things, because we all love puzzles and trying to figure out that. It's more fun. So figuring that out is, it's just really what gets me jazzed. But at the end of the day, we're more similar than we are different. We've all got the same want and need to be known and loved. Period. And we all go about it however we're going to go about it. So one of the things that I always ask everybody is, what are your superpowers? Because when we're making big changes and it's scary, we want to anchor ourselves to the things that we know we do really well. Otherwise, what can happen is we just feel like we're a hot mess and everything's wrong and everybody else knows what they're doing and we don't, and we're hopeless and pathetic, and we don't want to be feeling that way. So by anchoring yourself to the things that you do really, really well, what do other people come to you for? What do you have to offer to the world? When you hold those loud and proud, and then you can hold anything in balance. I'm always asking people what their superpowers are. I love it. So I spoke about this in episodes 1 through 4. My superpowers, and I had to have help really claiming what these were, by the way, is that I attract incredible humans, incredible, generous, extraordinary human beings. I make people believe they can do anything. And I obviously have a flair for putting fabulous flavors together. And so they're just 3. You know, you may have many that you can pick. If you can't claim one as you're listening to me, why? Don't shame yourself that you can't. Just gentle curiosity again. Why? There's absolutely something or many things that you do really, really well. If you can't claim that, why? Something just sitting in that inquiry. And then that again, why, that adventure of why just keeps leading you to the next inquiry, the next inquiry, the next inquiry. Why do I do what I do? What makes me tick? What motivates me? What holds me back? Just being in constant conversation with that. Again, with gentle curiosity, joy, wonder, excitement, elation, all of it. Gosh, it's a beautiful journey when we know ourselves better, and then we can empower ourselves, and that knowledge and awareness and love for ourselves is what drives us, not somebody else's idea of what it should be. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested to see what comes up for you. So please leave a review, post in the Facebook group. Let me know what what works for you, how you're speaking to yourself. Oh, I wanted to give you some of those strategies. I almost forgot. I talked about the power of the pause. So what do I mean by that? Let's say on a practical level, let's end with this. On a practical level, when food cravings, sabotage, eating things when I know it doesn't make me feel good. This comes up a lot during office hours. So just on a practical level, there's some strategies that I give to people, and I'll give them to you. The power of the pause, which is just, okay, whatever your drug of choice is, right? It might be a donut, it might be potato chips, it might be French fries, it might be pizza, it might be chocolate, ice cream, whatever it is. Let's go with ice cream for right now. I eat ice cream every night because that's something that came up last week in office hours. Okay. Yeah. So I want the ice cream. Oh, like we the power of the pause. So, yeah, I really, really want the ice cream because gosh, it's delicious. It's one of my favorite things. And gosh, I deserve it. I've had a bad day. Like, we all tell ourselves this sort of stuff, right? But then just pausing. Do I really want it? And then playing the movie all the way out. So just talking to yourself. Again, this is this longhand. We're going into longhand. This is an example of longhand. I mean, I really want that ice cream right now because, gosh, it's delicious. And I've had a hard day today and I'm exhausted. But do I actually really want it tonight? Because I know that when I eat it, I get gassy and bloated. I get sluggish. Then I don't sleep well. Then I put on weight, and then I beat myself up that I had it again. And I really want to reach my goals, and I want to reduce the inflammation in my body. I want to sleep through the night. I want to get rid of my hot flashes. I already know that dairy doesn't really agree with me, but gosh, I love that ice cream. But do I really want it today? Now, some days the answer will be, you know what? I want the ice cream, but I actually want to feel better more. So often we give up what we kind of want for what we want more. And then another day, it'll be, you know what? Family's coming over. We've got movie night. I'm eating the ice cream. I'm not going to feel so great tomorrow, but who cares? I'm making a happy memory and it's only their poetry and we're all eating ice cream. What a great reason to eat the ice cream, So sometimes it's going to be a yes, and sometimes that exercise is going to lead you to a no, thank you. No, thank you. And then you're going to grab for, the cucumber and the dip, or you're going to grab for a little bit of leftover vegetables or something healthier, and that's going to work. And other times it's not. And you're going to go down making a happy memory, and that's okay. So there's so many tools that we can put in our toolbox, practical strategies. Now, sometimes the power of the pause won't work. Sometimes the playing at the movie doesn't work, and then we can keep going with all of the strategies. There's so many tools in the toolbox, and that's why we want to have a deep, rich toolbox so that we've got a lot of things that we can pull out in any given moment. And sometimes we just make choices. And it's okay. We eat the French fries. We have the pizza. We have it 2 nights in a row. And so what? It's all about balance. We don't want to get into a place where we feel guilt and shame about our choices. So I know that's easier said than done. But when we're more aware of what's driving our choices, when we're speaking to ourselves in a loving way with longhand, when we're giving ourselves the space and the time and the grace, when we're communicating clearly with the people that we love about what we need, it becomes easier to hold things in balance with love and without judgment. And it becomes easier. And like I say many times on the pod, life is a practice. We're all just practicing. We're not perfecting. We're just practicing, just a practice, like a yoga practice. So just keep practicing. And then later on today, we get another chance to practice. And tomorrow we get another opportunity to practice again. And we're just practicing. So yeah, do we want to be discerning about who we practice with? We want to be practicing with other people that are holding love for themselves and for us. But again, we get to choose. It's just practice. So yeah, sorry, I almost forgot to share that. And that was something I really, really wanted to share. So I'm glad I didn't forget. So yeah, let me know what resonated with you. I'm really interested.
I want to hear about your It Has to Be Me story. So head on over to ithastobeme.com/stories to share it in our free community. You can also join the conversations we're having about this episode and others. I'm Tess Masters. Join me next week and we'll dive inside another great story to help us go from dreaming to doing.